Every decision they make can have an effect on our
Because
lives.
people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Skies over Baghdad have been illuminated.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
We have some scenes. Stay quiet. I need to speak to the ambulance. American 11, are you trying to call?
What difference at this point does it make?
A very sad group of people is trying to disenfranchise that group of people, and we won't stand for it.
Today, the members voted to approve their final report, and they recommended that the Department of Justice charge former President Donald Trump with 4 crimes.
This is Our Lives in Politics on the America Out Loud Network with your host Booker Scott and Lou Basada.
One prominent American political name over the last 40 years is Clinton. And when the name is brought up or mentioned, it brings different emotions to each of us. And for most of us, me included, those emotions are not positive. Two-term President Bill Clinton may be best known for the trail of women that he left in his political wake. There was Paula Jones, Leslie Milwee, Kathleen Willey, Jennifer Flowers, Monica Lewinsky, and that's just a partial list, sadly. But one of the first was Juanita Hickey, now Juanita Broaddrick. Today, Juanita has a huge presence on social media, and anyone that follows her loves her. And they also know that she's going to tell it just the way she sees it. In her earlier life, she was a Democrat and a volunteer for Bill Clinton's campaign when he ran for Arkansas governor in 1978. Today, she's a common sense conservative that holds absolutely nothing back. And we're thrilled to have Juanita as our guest on the program. I'm Booker Scott, the host of this hour on the America Out Loud Network, and my co-host and producer is Lou Pizzata. We're thrilled to be a part of America Out Loud Radio and Podcast Network, and give a big thank you to Malcolm and his entire team for the opportunity to share our lives in politics on Saturday and Sunday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern at AmericaOutloud.com, and available where you listen to podcasts after that. Lou, before we get Juanita in here, let's play a little game of word association. I'm just going to say a name, and you say the first thing that pops into your mind. That name is Clinton.
Hillary and corruption.
It's amazing to me that we hardly even think about Bill Clinton anymore. Hillary has taken such the stage after the Russian collusion hoax that she created. But before that, there was Benghazi, there was BleachBit, there were Blackberries destroyed. And it's odd to me that we kind of forgotten Bill Clinton, but you really can't. And I think his legacy maybe is going to be the women in that wake that he has left. And with us today, I'm really proud to have Juanita Broaddrick. Juanita, welcome to the program.
Hi, Booker, and hi, Lou. Thanks for having me.
Hey, welcome. You know, one thing we do try to do on this show is kind of go through someone's life politically. And I think it's important when we talk about Juanita Broaddrick, Juanita Hickey back then, we talk about some things maybe prior to 1978 and 79. And I find an interesting part of your life is the success that you had as a nursing home administrator. And I think a lot of people may not even remember that, and some people may not even know about that. Can you talk a little bit about that part of your life?
Oh, sure. Be happy to. That's a really interesting, loving part of my life. When I graduated from nurses training in 1963, I was putting my first husband through college. And so I was looking for the best paying job. I went to work as a surgical nurse in Russellville, Arkansas. And then I learned about a nursing home that needed a director of nursing, went and applied for that and got the job. And it was just the best experience. I talk about that a lot in my book about how I became a nursing home owner. And that began, and then that was about a 30-minute drive from where I was situated in Russellville, Arkansas. So then I got the opportunity to actually run a nursing home in Russellville that had just been built. And so I went over there, got the job for that. And back in the 60s, they didn't require a lot of licensed personnel. I was the only licensed personnel in the entire building.
And you are
lay people.
Hey, Juanita, you are a registered nurse too. I think people should know that. Yeah. That's your profession. Okay, keep going, please.
Yeah. And so I had to teach people that were used to out working in the fields, working labor jobs at 50 cents an hour is what we paid back then. I had to teach them how to take care of patients. I mean, I was it. I was the administrator. I wrote the menus. I did everything.
And you were really good. You were really good at it too, weren't you?
Yeah, because I was young and dumb.
And full of passion.
Yes,
Yes,
exactly. I wanted to do what was right. And I can't believe now, as I look back at what all I did, I can't believe it. So then I came back to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and ran nursing homes here, and then got the opportunity to build my own nursing home. And that was, I had worked for so many others, and I just thought, man, if I could just run the whole program, I know I could do it right. And so in 1974, I opened my own nursing home. And it was just, oh my God, I absolutely hid from creditors for the first 90 days because, this was just something new to me, owning it. I had worked for them, but I'd never owned it. But we finally made it, Booker, and was doing fairly well. And then all of a sudden in 1978, I meet Bill Clinton. And so it took a little bit of a backset there.
Yeah, but the interesting part is all the success that you had in the nursing home industry is kind of what brought you to Bill Clinton in a way, to a hotel in 1978. And do you feel like talking about that? I don't want to get into.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad situation, but heck, I'm 80 now, and I can go back and talk about that. So when you look back at that situation, here I am, a struggling business owner, keeping my business going and everything, and my friends from the area said, "Hey, we're going down and volunteer for Bill Clinton's gubernatorial race. Want to go?" And I thought, oh my God, I don't need to add one more duty to my roster here, but yeah, that sounds fun. Never been involved in politics, never. So I went down there with them and signed up, and I would go around in the evenings with my little 9-year-old son, and he thought that was just great. We would put up campaign signs, and he would carry the hammer and hammer it in. So he thought that was just absolutely wonderful. Did that for about 3 weeks. And then I get a call from the campaign office in Little Rock saying, "Hey, Bill Clinton's going to be in your area, and can he come by your nursing home and tour?" And I thought, oh my goodness, that's great.
So at the time, Bill Clinton was Attorney General in 1978 when he comes to this hotel.
Yeah. No, well, that transpired 3 weeks later after he visited my nursing home. I've sort of lost my train of thought here.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
That's fine. You were at the. I should tell a story real quick about you and I having a phone conversation the week before last, because to me it kind of says who I think you are. And you told me that you had broken a tooth and you were super gluing that tooth. And I thought, that's fantastic. That just sounds like something Juanita Broaddrick would be doing, is super gluing a tooth. But we'll go back to a few minutes ago. You were talking about Bill Clinton coming to your nursing home, and that's kind of where things went sideways with our memory. But let's go back there.
Okay, well, after they told us that he was going to be coming through the area, we were just so excited. We were all decked out in our Clinton for governor buttons and waiting for him to appear. And here he comes in with all of his entourage. And the first thing they do is snap a photo of he and I and a couple of my residents. And that's the photo you see on the front of my book. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that's over, he comes over to me and he starts asking me questions about myself, about the nursing home. And I thought, wait a minute, I need to tell him about our payment system. We are not getting reimbursed. So I started to tell him about how we couldn't survive on the per diem rate we were receiving from the state. And he stops me, Booker, in mid-sentence and says, "Hey, are you ever in Little Rock?" And I said, "Yes, I'll be there in 3 weeks. I'll be bringing down my director of nursing for a meeting." And he said, "Well, call my office and let's get together." So that's how all that came about. And when we got into town, we checked into the Camelot Hotel the night before. Next morning, call his office, and he's not there. So they give me the number of his apartment to call, and I call that. He answers the phone, and I said, "I'd like to come to your office. I have the files that we were talking about the per diem payment." And he said, "I'm not going to be there today." And I thought, oh no. I said, "Well, can I drop these by your office then?" And he said, "Why don't I come to your hotel right now?" So that's how all that occurred. So he said, "Just wait in your room, and when I get to the hotel, I'll call you and you can come down to the coffee shop and we'll talk down there." Well, of course, we know that didn't happen. When he got to the hotel, he called my room and he said, "Hey, there's so many people down here. Can we just talk about this in your room and have coffee there?" And it's been over 40 years, but I can still feel the panic that I felt at that moment, having a man in my room that I didn't really know.
Yeah, uncomfortable.
But you think this is the Attorney General. This is okay, Juanita. Calm down. This is okay. And that was my biggest mistake, saying, "No, I can't meet in my room." But yeah, I had already told my assistant to go on down to the meeting and sign us in. I ordered coffee to the room. And so that's where everything went so bad. When he came to my door, I opened that door and I see this man standing out in the hallway with these dark sunglasses on, and I should have shut the door right then. But you just don't, hindsight, I had no hindsight. He comes into my room, takes off his suit coat and lays it across a chair. I had this big table over by the window. And I had all my files and everything laid out there, what I wanted to show him about the inability to take care of a patient on what the state was paying us. And then he walks around the table and looks down. I had a window view of the Arkansas River. It was really pretty. And he says, "Come here, I want to show you something." So I walk around the table to where he is, and he's pointing down below at this little dilapidated building. And he said, "When I become governor, I want to restore that. That was an old 1800 jailhouse." And I just sort of nodded. I could have said, "Wow," or whatever, and start back around the table. And that's when he grabs me, and everything was a complete shock from there on. It was, I felt like I was in some kind of a horror movie. I couldn't believe what was happening.
And you told your assistant after that happened what had happened, what had occurred, but you really.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. After the rape, and it was rape. It was horrific. Booker, I'm a nurse. But I'd never known anyone that had been raped. I'd never known anyone I'd never taken care of anyone as a patient, as a rape patient. It was just unbelievable to me. And when he started to leave my room, well, of course, let me go back just a little bit. In order to make me give in to whatever he was doing, he would bite my top lip. And I absolutely at one moment thought that he was going to bite through my lip, my whole top lip. And so by the time that he left, which was only about 20 minutes later, maybe 15, my lip was swollen, bruised, bleeding. And as he gets up, it's like he was completely nonchalant to what he had done to me. And he says, he looks at me like, what are you crying about? And then he makes the most bizarre statement you've ever heard. He said, don't worry, I'm sterile. I had mumps when I was a boy. And that sort of went over my head. And then he says, motions to my mouth, and he says, you better put some ice on that, and walks out the door.
And you've mentioned...
I rush over to the door. Yeah, I rushed over and locked it. And disbelief, but so thrilled that he was gone.
You mentioned your book a couple of times. What is the name of your book?
You'd better put some ice on that.
That's what I thought.
Exactly what he said to me. How callous, you know.
And so,
was just awful.
And again, it's 1978. You do tell your assistant, but you keep it to yourself. You know, you don't go to the police. You don't carry forward. Again, this is a man of power. And it's someone that you're actually helping to get elected as the governor of Arkansas. So,
oh my God,
what could you do?
Yes. Well, just like you said, I told her. She came to the room when I didn't show up for the meeting. And she came to the room and saw me and immediately got ice from my mouth. And we sat down and she says, what do you want to do? I said, just take me home. Number one, I was ashamed. I thought, my God, how did you let this happen? That's the mentality we had back in the 70s. It's the woman's fault. What did I do? You know, what did I do to bring this on? And then the second most important thing is he was in charge of nursing home complaints as Attorney General in my state. He could have shut me down at a moment's notice, you know, just by a made-up complaint. I was between a rock and a hard place. I had no idea what to do. But first, I was so ashamed. I thought, how could I let this happen to me? And was just like a zombie for about the next 3 to 4 weeks. Only told 5 people. And that was out of necessity.
But then you keep it to yourself for years and years. And
oh my God.
I guess it was about when, 1999, that you...
Well, it was 98, early 98. When the investigators for Paula Jones came to my front door. In fact, you know who they were? They were Beverly and Rick. I can't remember their last name. Their daughter's a superstar. Anyway, they were investigators. And they came to my front door to ask me if I would be in, that they'd heard about what I'd gone through and that would I be interested in being in the lawsuit with Paula Jones? And I said, absolutely not, you know, in so many words. And so that's how my name first got out. And then it was ultimately revealed when Ken Starr deposed me in 90, also at the end of 98.
And then as some people say, well, she never said anything for 20 years. And then she kind of denied it. So that baggage, that baggage has been on.
Right. Oh, exactly. I gotta say, when those people came to my front door and asked me to be in the be Jane Doe number 5 in the Paula Jones suit, I said no, I won't do it at all. Well, they went back. They had recorded my interview on the front porch with them, and when they got back, they had some incriminating information on there that I more or less admitted, yes, that's what happened, but I'm not going to get involved in this. I saw what was happening to Kathleen Willey and Paula Jones and Jennifer Flowers, and I thought, my God, I'm trying to run a business. And I had opened up my second nursing home by then for handicapped children. And so I thought, there's just no way I'm going to get my name out there on this. Well, that didn't, that was to no avail because it did get out there. And when I denied it the first time, the attorneys for Paula Jones sent that tape recording of Rick and Beverly Lambert. Miranda Lambert is the one I was thinking of. When they sent that tape recording of what I'd said to Ken Starr. So that's how Ken Starr called me in for a deposition.
And then all these years later, it's as if that is forgotten by so many of us on the conservative side. And let's talk about your transition from where you were a Democrat to where you are now so vocal and a common sense conservative. Where did that transition take place?
Well, it sort of took place after I was very much for George Bush II and campaigned for him, not in his actual campaign headquarters or anything, but I was very much for him here in Arkansas. And then I got very disappointed with him in some of the things that he had done in office. And then I voted for Obama. I thought, well, maybe this will be good. And gosh, I contributed probably over $3,000 to his campaign. And then got so disillusioned. I didn't even vote the second time around with Obama.
I think I skipped that one too.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, my God, woman, what have you done? Given to the enemy. Oh, and then I had pretty much not decided to get into any of this 2016 mess. And then in late 2015, I see this tweet and message on TV from Hillary that said, I want to send a message to all victims of sexual abuse. You have the right to be heard and believed, and we're with you. I turned back the DVR on that, and I read that again and heard her say that again, and I thought, we're with you? Really? Oh my God. So I kept thinking, what on earth am I going to do? I knew I had to do something to answer this tweet. Well, I didn't know how to use Twitter. And so I called my 12-year-old grandson. That's who you call, when an old person wants to know about social media. And I called Ridge and I said, can you come over here and help Nana? I need to see how to tweet. And he walked me through it. Didn't tell him what I was going to tweet. And so the next day I got up and I tweeted, I was 35 years old when Bill Clinton, the Arkansas Attorney General, raped me, and Hillary tried to silence me. I'm now 73 and it never goes away. And I thought, well, I haven't said anything that I didn't say 20 years ago, and that's all the truth. It's all fine. And I thought, okay, now what do I do? And I reached up and clicked tweet, and all hell broke loose. I will never forget. Within 30 seconds, my phone started ringing off the wall. I mean, one reporter after another. And about the third call was my son, the attorney. And he said, Mom, what did you do? And I said, I have no idea. Listen, Booker, I had no idea the power and the instant response. I mean, it's instant and it's worldwide. And I didn't grasp it.
And then you end up getting banned from Twitter eventually.
Yeah, in April. Yeah, but that was all over COVID.
Yeah,
in the vaccine. Yeah.
And now we have Elon Musk comes in. How do you perceive Elon Musk's ownership of Twitter so far?
Oh, of course, I see it very positive. You probably know that Cat Turd, my friend, on Twitter, tweeted to bring me back. He said she's a really nice person. He was really bending it there a little. But anyway, he said she's a really nice person. Within 2 hours, I was back on. I couldn't believe it. So when you see that list of people that have influence on Twitter, with Elon Musk being number 1 and Cat Turd being number 8, it's true.
And at 80 years old, now you figured out Twitter. And the last time I looked, I think over 600,000 people follow you on that platform.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm amazed too. Can't believe it.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break. And in a few minutes, we're going to come back and play some word association with you. And we'll throw out some words, and you just share with people your thoughts and feelings on that. And Lou, we talk about the oil and gas industry a lot here on this program, and what Joe Biden did to the oil and gas industry. They call it a transition. They're transitioning us away from oil and gas. Well, there's an organization that if you are in the oil and gas industry, you need to be aware of. Get a piece of paper and a pen and get ready to write this website down here in a minute. The Oil and Gas Workers Association, it's a grassroots, independent, nonpartisan, nonprofit trade association. And it's run by oil and gas workers. They're in the business, and they do it for the purpose of saving American jobs. They're busy lobbying for common sense laws that put Americans to work and make America energy independent again, which we were in 2019. If you know anyone in the gas and oil industry, give them this website. Write this down, ogwusa.com. Membership is free. And by the way, they have over 46,000 members now. And the website again is ogwusa.com. The Oil and Gas Workers Association, they're fighting for American jobs, and they're fighting for energy independence. We're going to be back with more of Our Lives in Politics in a moment on the America Out Loud Radio Network.
You never think about your belt as being disgusting and filled with germs and bacteria. But what's the first thing you touch after using the restroom before you've washed your hands and you've never cleaned it? Your belt. Whether your belt is nylon or leather, both materials absorb moisture and either can't be washed or washing destroys them. You need the Super Belt. The Super Belt is not leather. It's an amazing webbing coated in a special polymer which makes it completely waterproof and antimicrobial. You can wash it, even clean it with bleach. This belt is nearly indestructible and made in America. Go to thesuperbelt.com to learn more about this incredible belt, which will last you the rest of your life. Thesuperbelt.com.
Back here on the America Out Loud Radio Network, this is Our Lives and Politics. I'm Booker Scott with my co-host and producer, Lou Pizzata. Special guest is Juanita Broaddrick. So glad to have her here with us today, sharing her story earlier. And now we're going to move to a little different direction. And we're going to play some word association. But before we get to that, Juanita, The Atlantic in 2019 did an article on you. And I found something interesting in the way they describe you. We were just talking about Twitter before we went to the break. The gulf between Broaddrick's social media persona and her actual one is especially wide. For me, that just doesn't seem like a fair assessment of who you are. It seems like you're authentic on Twitter, and what you believe, you say. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment in what The Atlantic said about you?
No. That was such a funny thing. I met with that little young lady about 3 times, and I never could get a take on her. And they used this funniest little old picture of me when they did the interview. It was a photo. It was a painting photo of a photo, and I look like I'm 110 in it. It's so funny.
Well,
I don't know.
It is The Atlantic.
Yeah.
They're not going to do you any favors.
It was just so funny. The 3 times I met with this young lady, she had on this very same dress. We're talking within a few days of each other, and that was just that I don't know why that came to mind, but it did. But I guess because I was respectful and funny, and I was with a group of friends, and maybe that's the side she saw.
But that's what I see on Twitter. That's what I see in your social media platform. It's like if it comes to your head, I feel like most of us that follow you and love you on social media get the real person. Like if we had dinner with you as friends, that it would be the same conversation that you have on Twitter that we had in a personal relationship over dinner.
Yeah. And then you also had that Caitlin Flanagan article from The Atlantic, What Hillary Knew.
Yeah.
So you get it, and it was very positive and with me. But the best one was when oh gosh, I'm trying to think of her name. The New York Times said, "I believe Juanita." Now that just shocked me to death.
Well,
and that was in 2018.
You almost have to believe you and all the others at this point. There are just too many. And so let's get into a little word association. This is always fun. So I'm going to say a word or a name, and you say the first thing that comes to your mind, and then elaborate a little bit.
Okay. Do children listen to this?
No.
No, I'm joking.
No, you weren't.
Okay.
The first one is Pelosi.
Which?
You choose.
No. WITCH.
Okay, you went with which. Now let's go to Paul. Are you thinking hammer and underwear?
No, that one, boy, that's a hard one. Yeah, of course you think of hammer and you think of underwear. Oh my God, imagine Pelosi in his underwear. Ooh.
And it's amazing how that has disappeared from the radar screen.
Oh yeah.
Just completely gone.
We'll never see, we will never see those body cams.
But the good thing is the witch is gone. She no longer has power, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The next one, the border.
Oh, of course, it's the first thing crisis. You get just and criminals coming across the border.
And when you look at that thing, to me, it is a human crisis. It's so much more than just the border. We're talking 40,000 American young lives that have been lost to fentanyl. We're talking, we're talking about 1,400 humans have died crossing the border since President Biden has been in office. And we still don't know. Yeah, we don't know the government involvement in human trafficking. Right. 266,000 unaccompanied children in 2 years have come across the border. Where are they? It is a human crisis. It isn't left or right. It's not conservative or liberal or Republican or Democrat. It is a huge problem. And of course, just recently, Biden went down there for the first time ever in 50 years. And we'll see what happens out of that. I guess he's offered $20 billion in some sort of assistance for that. Let's move on.
Oh my God.
Let's move on to the next name. Let's go to Kevin McCarthy.
Rhino.
A rhino, and now Speaker of the House. And we went through that process as you sat back and watched that process of the election for the new speaker, Kevin McCarthy. What were your thoughts as you watched 15 votes take place in the House of Representatives?
In the beginning, I didn't think that he would make it, and I didn't know where we would be. And my biggest fear is somebody going to do something and vote some way that Jeffries could get it. That was a frightening thought. But then, Booker, as it got closer to the end and the last 13th, 14th, and 15th vote, I thought, oh my God, just get it over. maybe, just maybe he'll do good. And that's what I tweeted this morning, that buffoon in the White House is not going to do any good at all, ever. But will the House on the border.
And that's all we can hope for right now is that everyone in the House of Representatives pulls together and does some good work. And I'm not sure what that work is going to look like, but that brings me to the next word for word association, 87,000 IRS agents.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm one of those for a flat tax. I'm one of those that think start with that 87,000 extra baggage and work your way back and get rid of the rest. Just do enough just have enough of an IRS department that can handle flat tax.
Yeah, I like a flat tax too. It just makes it so easy. And with all the loopholes and everything that people can take advantage of, you don't need 87,000.
Well,
go ahead.
Right. Another thing too, weren't they given guns
Well,
These people, weren't they issued guns?
yeah, and
These 87,000?
the 87,000 IRS agents is over 10 years that will be added. So it's not like 87,000 are running around right now with guns, saying, "Put your hands up, pay me your tax."
Right. Well, send them to the border. Let them help down there.
Yeah, that would help. The next one, Benghazi.
Oh my! You can't help but think of anything but that ambassador being crucified right on TV, and those other heroes, and her saying, "What difference does it make?"
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yep. Yeah.
Mitch McConnell.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, but he's just an old, useless old fart. He absolutely, he's one that I'd like to see his tax returns.
We know his father-in-law is a huge ship magnate in China.
Yes.
Or he was. And
right.
He gifted Mitch McConnell and his wife millions of dollars years ago. So Mitch McConnell got a lot of his money from China and the CCP.
Yeah. Well, I just think he's a traitor to the conservative Republican Party. I just think he's a huge traitor.
And while we're talking about Mitch McConnell, what about term limits? What about an age limit? You're 80.
No.
You're in great shape. But at what point do some of these people decide, I want to retire? And if they can't make that decision, do we make it for them with term limits?
Yeah, I think term limits has to be a coming thing. But, I think that there should be a flat, maybe 16 years or less. But then I think that they have to take a cognitive test after that.
Yeah. It's it's like someone over 80 or 75 that's still driving that doesn't need to be. So, you mentioned you're 80 years old. I would never call out a lady and her age, but you brought it up, and you're mentally, you're sharp as can be. So it depends on the person, but again,
exactly.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't. I still think 80 is questionable. Don't we have some in there in their 90s?
And yes, we do. And don't we have new ideas? To me, the turnover brings maybe some ideas. And I understand the arguments against term limits, and I think they are good arguments. But something should happen about how long these people are staying in Congress. Okay, we're going to go to the next. The next name I have is Donald Trump.
Oh, patriot, selfless. He just absolutely is the most unselfish person I know. I mean, look what he did. He's the only president in probably history that's ever gone out of the White House with less money than he entered. I'm a huge Donald Trump fan. I think that he gets very egotistical sometimes, but I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would think to be the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, there is going to always be some ego in that.
Yeah.
And, if who wakes up and says, I want to be president of the United States, unless they have a pretty good ego.
Yeah. Well, you're right there. Yeah. But I'm just a firm believer. I don't know what the 2024 election is going to bring. I think we're in for some big surprises. It's just like he came from the back of the crowd in 2015. I still think there's somebody else out there that may do the same thing. But if he's running, I'll vote for him.
And, we are in the cycle. And 8 years ago, during the cycle of the presidential election, we're still 6 months from when Donald Trump came down the escalator. To your point, it is still early.
Yeah.
There is still plenty of time for someone to emerge, and from either side. And I don't know that we have all the answers yet. And then we continue to have conversations about the next person that's on my list to ask you about, and that's Ron DeSantis.
Oh, Ron DeSantis. Oh, I like him. I think as far as I can't give you a one-term reply to that. I just think he has so many good things going for him. Of course, the ultimate ticket for me would be Trump and DeSantis, but I don't think we'll ever get to anything like that. But I just think this man is common sense and governs like his people wants him to.
Now, let me ask you about this one. Joe Biden.
Oh my God, idiot, buffoon. Oh, we wake up to this every morning, what he says and what he does, and it's so embarrassing. We're the laughing stock of the world.
Do you believe he?
I don't think he'll make it the next 2 years.
Do you believe that he has the ability to actually be president? And if not, who do you think is actually pulling the strings?
I wish I knew. I used to tweet that I thought it was Obama because of his comments that he made, that he wished he could serve a third term, in regular lay clothes and sit back and do it without any notice. And it made you wonder in the beginning, is that exactly what happened? I don't know. I don't know who is running, but I think we have the right to know. We know it's not Joe Biden, Booker.
Yeah.
There's that man doesn't even know how to get off the stage after he speaks.
No, he doesn't know which direction to go. He has to have help.
No.
And I tell people all the time, it pains me to say this because of his age and what he's going through, that I take no pleasure whatsoever in saying something bad about that man at times, because really it's a shame, and he should just be taken out, in the sense that maybe get him out of the office or don't put him in those situations, because we can all see exactly what's going on. And it's not a good look for our country. It's not a good look for his family or anybody around him in the administration.
Oh, it's embarrassing. But I have such dislike for the Bidens and what they put this country through. And I made a tweet. I tweeted yesterday, I believe, and I said, I am getting all of this emails about Alzheimer's, and I said I just forwarded on to Joe Biden.
Do you think he got it?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Evidently not. He's not gone in for treatment, but he has. I had an Alzheimer's wing in my nursing home, and he certainly resembles that. They have him heavily medicated.
Yes,
no doubt.
Yes.
Next name, Hunter Biden.
Oh, creep. My God, why is he not in jail for all of those videos with underage kids? I mean, you're talking 13, 14-year-olds that he was having sex with overseas. Oh my God.
And there are other crimes that are available to see on the laptop as well.
But will we ever? I mean, will he ever be? This is what the American public is the most frustrated about.
I agree.
Is how this family can commit so many crimes. Now, will the House bring him up for impeachment? And will Hunter be brought up? He is being brought up, for investigation now. But it's unreal. It's unreal, the people that get by with stuff.
And I think that is such a frustration for the American people. And one thing that has galvanized so many is we see the way that Donald Trump was treated for 4 or 5 years under investigation the entire time he was president. And obviously at this point, what have they found? They have dug under every rock, every stone they possibly could, and nothing has happened at this point. His entire presidency was under that investigation, and who did it hurt? It hurt the American people, because when Donald Trump was president, we had the lowest unemployment among Hispanics and blacks. We had wage increases among everybody, and who did we really hurt? Who did they hurt with those investigations? It hurt the American people. And here we sit today, and as you call him, we have Joe Biden, the buffoon, in the White House, and we're dealing with his son, Hunter Biden. And, there are gun issues that he had that are clear on the laptop. And then the money part of it, $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow, the wife, of, there and millions and millions of dollars from China, and nothing is happening on this. And it's so frustrating. And hopefully Congress, this new 118th Republican Congress, will actually have some investigations that have some teeth in them and not like Benghazi was.
Exactly. They have got to come forth with evidence that will make the Senate look like complete, total retards if they don't consider impeachment.
So we have a few minutes left here, Juanita, and I want to end this hour maybe on a bigger picture, 30,000 foot view, stepping away from the forest and looking at all the trees. How do you see this country today?
Oh, it's like nothing I could ever have imagined back in, 1990s, early 2000s. It is, I wake up each morning and I go to Twitter, turn on the TV for the news, a little bit of it, mostly Twitter, because I'm afraid of what each day brings right now. I'm afraid for my family, for my grandson, and so many other things. It's got to make a turn, and I haven't seen it make that turn yet until I can see that this House is going to do some good and start our world in a different direction. I'm uneasy.
And do you see what exactly do you see can happen in our country to make people have respect, regard for one another again, like it used to be? Do you see anything?
The only thing I can see is a lot of what Corey DeAngelis is doing is concentrate on our schools, on our children, and let the parents back into the school in saying what's right and what's wrong for their kids. It's got to start there. This week, I'll be moving in my 19-year-old grandson with me. His mom is relocating and he wants to stay here. And I'm just so interested in what he thinks and where he thinks his life is going. It should be interesting. If I don't kill him, well, maybe maybe we can talk about him later. But there's so much that's gone wrong in our schools, and I think that's one of a huge thing that needs to be straightened out.
So in your conversations with your 19-year-old grandson, how do you think he views America?
I think he's lost. He doesn't know how. That 2 years of shutdown with the COVID and having to wear a mask. I had to make him take his mask off about 6 months ago. He got so used to it. It was just like an everyday thing with him. I had tweeted this morning that I was so glad that my 19-year-old grandson has not taken the COVID shot, because he said, if Nana's not taking it, I'm not either. The rest of his family has taken it, but they only took the first 2 shots back when it wasn't as bad with the mRNA as it is now. So, and he's with me a lot and knows. I think I've helped him with a little bit of common sense, but I'm worried about kids. I really am.
Yeah. So am I. I'm a grandfather. I have one grandchild. I also have a young daughter who is 10 years old. And really that's the reason why I do the things that I do, because I want them to have the future. I want them to have the hope that we had when we were young.
Yes. Exactly. And, I had put something, on Facebook the other day, and I'll read it to you here. It's brief. It's just a minute.
Yeah, please do.
I said, from the moment my grandson was born, he has been a huge part of my life. He spent many weekends and summer times with me. So many wonderful memories. When he was about 6, he said, Nana, can I live with you? I said, oh my goodness, Ridge, your mom and dad would miss you so much. And then a little while later, he came back and he said, okay, Nana, when I'm older and you're not dead, can I live with you then? I smiled and I tried not to laugh and I said, sure you can. And then he's now 19. He's older and I'm not dead. And he's moving in with me next week.
And you know what? I think that's a great place to end this hour. Juanita, thanks so much for joining us here on Our Lives in Politics.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being here.
That was wonderful. I truly enjoyed that, Juanita. Thank you so much. We would love to have you back.
Thanks, Lou.
You're welcome.
Sure. Yeah. And you can get an update on my grandson and I and what we feel, what our differences are.
That would be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that, actually. So you're welcome to come back anytime. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. Thank you. He's been through a hard time. He lost his girlfriend back in May. She died from complications of a car accident, and her funeral was on the day they were to graduate. So it's been tough. And now his mom's getting remarried and moving to Dallas, and he's estranged from my son. So tough times coming up.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep you in our prayers about all
Absolutely.
that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for making the time for us. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks. And I just enjoyed meeting you guys. Of course, I knew Booker on Twitter, but thanks.
The conversation has been with Juanita Broaddrick. Her book is You May Want to Put Some Ice on That. And, you know, Lou said it really well a few minutes ago. He said, we'd love to have her back sometime. And that is so true. You know, Juanita has almost 700,000 followers on Twitter now. And there is a reason for that. You know, she's honest. She's a great storyteller. And she holds nothing back. And she certainly didn't do that today. And, you know, her life really is an open book.
It is, Booker. I have to agree. And I love speaking with her, just listening to her stories. They were mesmerizing. And again, reminded me of the stories that I would have heard from my own grandmother and took me back to my own childhood. And I'm looking forward to her coming back, especially when she talks about her grandson who's getting ready to move in with her. I think that is going to be a story that I want to hear. I would definitely like to have follow-up and would love to have her back.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know that we're going to be having all types of tweets on that social platform of Twitter coming up very soon with her grandson moving in. So that's going to be interesting. So keep an eye on that. And Juanita, I know that you will anyway. Our next conversation on Our Lives in Politics is going to be with Corey Mills. Corey is a freshman in the newly sworn in 118th Congress. And, you know, his life is a great story. It's one of overcoming. It's one of succeeding. It's one of being injured twice while on the battlefield for the United States of America. That happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then as a hero, getting Americans out of Afghanistan after the debacle in August of 2021. He was one of those that was going to rescue Americans to save them from the Taliban. So he will be coming up soon on Our Lives in Politics. And don't forget all the great programming always available on AmericaOutloud.com. From people like Peter McCullough, Dr. Peter McCullough, attorney Tom Renz, and there are so many more, both written form, podcasts, and of course on the radio network.
I'm Lou Bizzata, co-host and producer, and you can follow me on Twitter at BizzataLou.
Thanks for joining our conversation, and remember, salt without flavor is useless. You are the salt of the earth, so be salty.
You've been listening to Our Lives in Politics on the America Out Loud Network.